Dummy switch pod. The boys are
Yes,
back.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Quarters.
How are you, Chris? How are you? How's your weekend?
Look, there's a number of reasons you can find to complain and cry and whatever,
Yeah,
but it was a good weekend of rugby. I'll say that. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of issues, But I'm good. But there's a lot of issues. How are you doing, Quarters?
good myself, good myself. The Dan Carters of podcasting here to
Mm-hmm,
bring you our
mm-hmm.
opinions, our flagrant takes, and of course, please feel free to share your opinions, your takes. I've got a feeling
Yeah,
that it's quite a controversial week, so
yeah.
there's plenty of things to discuss, deliberate, and dissect. I think for the most part, I'm actually with you because Eben Betzer, Beth, Payme, Willemse. I had some money on the Sharks, so I also felt it. I also felt it a bit. But before we get into the Sharks, I think it's three matches left of
Yeah.
the regular season, just to lay it out there. And you've got the sides that are already on tour have one left, then they come home for
Mm,
two, and then the sides that are at home have one left, and then they go on tour for two. So
mm.
it's gonna get interesting. It's gonna be nail biting, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking Stormers, they'll make it. Lions, tough fixtures ahead. Three Irish teams. If they can get a
Yeah.
result this week, it's kind of looking good for them. And then
Mm,
Bulls, you'd expect them in eighth position, but you'd expect them to get almost all three results because
yeah. The way
yeah,
they started the tour, the way they started, um, you know. So for them, the Bulls, I think for them, they can't regress. you know, they
yeah,
can't regress from here. A good start. It should create a good vibe on tour. And they can take it forward. Stormers, yeah, I think they'll be reeling a lot of emotions, a lot of things happening there. But I think, yeah, you're
yeah,
right. They should make it. You know, and then the most, I think the interesting one and the most exciting one, the Lions. Finally, showing themselves to be wanting to stake a claim. But like you said, it's a tough run in the next three fixtures,
yeah,
and it's the Irish oppositions, and you want, yes, this weekend to get a result, but away from home you want to come away with some points as well, And I think they're very much in the good space, good headspace, and they're capable of doing that. The only thing it's going to be away from home. It's going to be hostile, so it'll be a test for them to see how far they can actually take this thing, you
yeah.
know. But yeah, and then the Sharks, they were finished long ago, so
It's
they were
I
finished
actually,
long
I
ago.
actually, I actually had hope for them. Especially okay. I know
Nah, look, I
it's
knew
a bit,
because
it's a bit. I saw okay, it's a bit. He didn't go on tour, but when you see Sia go on tour and they name
mm,
a strong team, you think that okay, they're gonna have a go, and then
mm,
Sia's on tour, but it's just to take pictures. He's not playing,
no, he's
so
on tour.
yeah, he's really on tour. I mean, and then the Lions, even this week facing the team at the top of the log, but it was kind of the bookies had them to win, and I also believe that they get the job done. But I
Yeah,
think let's start with the most controversial of the games this weekend. Like you
yeah,
said, the Sharks basically needing to win all remaining games, and I think even still needing things to go in their favor in terms of other results. Away at Ospreys, uh, Sikotelo Siaya,
I was
it's
about to say,
his,
wait, before you even, for me, in recent
yeah,
times, one of the most anticipated debuts, like for a young player, black player, even, fullback, and the caliber of player that he is, it's
yeah.
it's been a buzz, and I think there's a lot of people that have been, that have that sentiment, that we are living, see, through him, we are going,
Yeah,
we are going.
yeah. I mean, even it almost came out of nowhere. First it was that he was on tour, and then that he was.
Boom.
It had been said that he was starting. I know Kiromir
Yeah.
got the same kind of treatment, and that seems to be JP Peterson. He spoke about his introducing the youth in high stakes
Yeah.
matches, and it's kind of sad that his performance was overshadowed by
Yeah.
controversy in terms of what happened to Hooker, in terms of the prop gate with the guy going off injured. Was he really injured?
Mm,
And then
mm,
also the mediocrity of John Smith. And
mm.
so for me, it's in that way, you would have liked a better platform for his introduction, but it will be a long story. It will be a long career. So, you know,
Yeah, but with all of those though, what he introduced, with all of those factors around
yeah,
him, that already says enough about the kid. Look, he belongs. He's got it for sure. He's got it for sure. Immediately, just at that level. I mean, we've seen him at junior level, and it's always the case where with
yeah,
the youngsters where you say, okay, it's junior level, let's see the step up. And we want guys to get that opportunity. And look, credit to Coach JP, he said it and he's been backing it up. And the guys are coming in nicely and they're performing.
yeah.
Let's not forget that they're performing, and it's the embarrassment of riches of talent that we have in South Africa, and that's why I always go back and say that's why we need to invest in the talent that is going to stay, the talent that is for South Africa, and
Yeah.
even if okay, club level, yes, guys go anyway, but from a national point of view, you know, this is where you invest. So yeah, look, for me it was good, especially considering the factors around that you mentioned.
That's what I'm saying. And like, it's one of those things where, like, if you grade a player's performance, for me, that was a decent performance. I don't think he had a great game, but
Mm-mm.
when you all things being considered, it kind of like it raises it so much because the fact that it's an 18-year-old guy, the fact that it's his
Yeah,
first game, the fact he
yeah,
hasn't been a part of the squad, they've just thrown him in. So on that curve that you're grading him on, maybe it was an average performance, but it just lifts and lifts and lifts, and he had his moment, he had his line breaks.
yes,
So it's just there's so much
to
he's
like, man.
done. There's so much to come. So it is exciting in
Uh,
that way.
yeah, yeah, but like you say, unfortunate with the factors around him and also the lack of execution from the Sharks in
Yeah,
general. Because I
yeah, yeah,
mean,
yeah.
solid first start in the first, especially first 5 minutes, but they couldn't get it done. And they were a bit careless with possession. Especially in in the strike zones in opposition 22s where
Yeah,
and
before
and and
before we
then
yeah, so
yeah,
I
yeah,
was gonna
sorry,
say
yeah.
before we get on to kind of like points in the game, the two standout moments is obviously Ethan Hooker
Mm.
breakaway try. He dives.
Foul
Luke
play,
Luke Morgan dives on top
foul
of him,
play, very foul,
injures him. He's essentially out for the
very
rest of the season,
very
uh,
foul.
6 to 8 weeks. Luke Morgan maintains that
Who
he
is
hadn't
he?
put the ball
Who
down
is Luke Morgan?
and that like it was still kind of in competition because he hasn't put the ball down. So
Who is that
it's
guy? We don't
still
know him, man. The world knows Ethan Hooker. Nobody knows him, man. Who is he?
and okay, if that were true, then that would be true. But when you watch the footage, he
It's
had put
not
the
true.
ball down.
False.
And
False.
South Africans as a rugby fan base tend to be outraged by almost anything. But to
Aye, but
me,
that
this
one,
is fair. This is fair outrage, and it goes to the ref as well. Where you just like
ah,
is
you know what I mean?
like they kind of
No.
checked it. You know what I mean? It's like they kind of checked it, but it should
Yeah,
have
and they
been
just let it
a
go.
penalty or a yellow card from that. And I don't think that's being like outraged or whatever. I think that all things be equal, it was foul play.
So you see what's going to happen now. You're going to find a game where there will be a South African player that will do the exact same thing, and there'll
Yeah,
be harsher sanctions. Okay, maybe different referee and whatever, but The action is illegal. What's illegal is illegal. There's no black and white around that. He dove on a player on the ground after the act of scoring the try on the ground. Did he have a realistic chance of stopping the try? No, he didn't. Did he didn't. Absolutely none. You know, and I saw some people say, yeah, but great pace for him to get back there. Oh man, by the time Hooker was over the try, he had slowed down, bro. So there was no great pace in it. You know, so don't
Yeah.
come here and like honestly, man, it's really it's really sad to see incidents like that happen in the game, and for the people that are supposed to be looking after the players. You know, they talk about player safety. Look at what happened. The guy is injured. Was that a safe act? If we're to look at player safety, that wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, and it was deliberate. Yes. You know, so yellow card penalty at the least. You know, but no, it's outrageous. And for him to even try and defend that action, obviously he'll defend, but not even to say so, you know, to say, hey, you're not,
Yeah.
Hades are injured. Maybe he did in the background, we don't know. But at the end of the day, who's he? Who's that guy, man? Like, no, but for real, is he kept? I don't know. I didn't even care to Google. You understand? Because who is he? You know? But we know Ethan Hook.
Yeah.
Us, the New Zealanders, they know him. You know, they know him. So no, man, that for me, it's all across the board. It leaves a bad taste in the mouth. You know, because all of that changes the dynamic of the game. Injuries, yes, they do happen in the game, but that was an unnecessary injury
Yeah.
that did not need to happen. You know, changes the shape of the Sharks' backline. You know,
Yeah.
in terms of now we have to move players around. Then they do others. Keep going,
Yeah.
Collins.
Yeah. You talked about him having to rearrange the back line. Another thing was that Lorenzo Julius, before the game, he apparently injured himself. So now you've got Mapimpi on the bench, and then you've
Mm,
got Hooker gets injured, who can play center, and then you've got Leroux Malan gets injured, who's the center,
mm, mm.
and then you've got Julius, who's now. So now you have a problem where you've got Masuku playing center.
Center. Yeah.
Yeah, so that also caused a bit of other problems. The other big controversial moment was the fact that Ospreys went down to 14 men and there were uncontested scrums.
They didn't want the
And
smoke. You
JP
saw it on the
Peterson,
coach's face when the camera went there. You
yeah,
could see on his face. He knew exactly what he was doing. But I have a
yeah,
question about that, coach.
yeah, JP Peterson's come out since and said that he doesn't know whether the player was truly injured and that if it was a tactic to rather say I'd rather go down 14
Mm,
men and have uncontested scrums than to contest at the scrums. And to me, kind of like that is the headline and like kind of like what people are talking about. But when you dig
mm,
deeper, you can see that the Ospreys, from the beginning of the game, they were winning at scrum time. They're winning at scrum time.
mm.
Eventually, JP Peterson, and it was on Henry Jacobs' side. Henry Jacobs was
Yeah.
getting destroyed. JP Peterson says, okay, you know what? We're going to take, I think it was after the second try, we're going to take Mbata off. We're going to put Edwin
Mm,
Swart on. You know, maybe he thought Mbata's the weak link there. Swart
mm.
comes on. Dominance continues for Ospreys. And it continues the whole of the first half until around 50 something minutes.
Yeah.
They bring on Nche and they bring on Koch. From that first scrum, penalty. From the
Yeah.
next scrum, it was on the 5 meter
Yeah.
and it was Ospreys put in. Sharks push them over their own try
Of
line.
their own
Yes,
ball. Yeah.
yes. Sharks get the ball back. At that point, if the Sharks had continued to scrum, it would have been a penalty try and it would have
Penalty
been a
try.
yellow
Easy
card.
penalty try. That's exactly what I got here. Easy penalty try.
Yeah,
Yellow card. The dominance continues throughout the rest of that second half because it was going
yeah,
to. That's territory possession, and in some instances, the 3 points that you need to secure the game away from home. You know,
yeah,
um, and that's inexcusable if that is what the Ospreys were doing, because definitely they didn't want that smoke. They saw all of that and they knew. I think the coach he did what he had to do to get the win, because that was leading to my question to say, you're a coach, you're in that situation, you're ahead, you got the lead, you want to secure
One
the
would
game.
say, why would you reduce yourself to 14 players,
Mm.
in any situation? But the fact of the matter is, the Sharks would have got a penalty and they would have been down to 14 anyway.
Anyway, you understand?
And they would
So
have had to continue scrummaging. So basically, you're like,
scrummaging,
we're gonna lose we're gonna lose this player anyway. So if I take him off, at
mm,
least we don't have to compete at the scrum anymore. Because then you compete
yeah,
at the scrum, then you're competing a man less, then you can get
mm,
another yellow card.
yeah, you can, because your next prop is gonna go as well,
Yes.
So from a tactical point of view, look, is it in the spirit of the game? No, but it's so double edged because we're in a results business as well. If
Mm.
you're on the other side of it, you say, hey, do what I got to do to win, but then from a purist point of view, you're thinking to yourself, come on, man up, face up to the challenge, face your shortcomings because you can't always run away from
Yeah.
your shortcomings because you're going to get found out down the line. There's other
Yeah.
games that you're going to play. Your scrum is not just going to be all of a sudden be better, but from a Sharks perspective, yeah, that hurt. It really it hurt. It took away because the momentum was firmly in the Sharks' hands at that stage.
And
Firmly,
sorry,
the only result was Sharks was going to win the way that I saw it.
you're talking about momentum. I also want to talk on that part in that there was large deliberation and opening of World Rugby's laws
Manuals,
and
yeah.
manuals and procedures, which took time and time and time again. You've got players, Sharks lose momentum, game's gone cold, players gone
Mm,
cold. Edwell is busy warming up there on the wing there. You've essentially besides seeking an unfair advantage or whatever,
yeah, it is an unfair
you've
advantage.
killed it in that way. And I feel like a lot of that also goes on the ref. He lost
Yeah,
control of the game at that moment,
yeah.
and
He doesn't know his own laws, that is referee, which is what highlighted because he should have known. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah,
It didn't need to for him to ask the guys on the side because you would think the guy in the middle must be the main authority because it's like, no, you're the best guy that can keep up with the play, the best guy that can apply these laws
yeah.
correctly. But now, when you don't even, you need reference points to say, hey, Gonje, what's 1.2? Yes, but that's your job. You understand what I'm saying? That's your job, and
You know,
that whole refereeing team
yeah.
must take the hit for that because what was that? What was that? It should have been clear. To say, hey, this is the situation. You guys are taking a man down. Need to go play less. And
And they have to
and
bring on a front row player. They can't just,
yeah,
because what they were doing was they were bringing on a loose forward.
lose forward. Yeah, they were trying to, and that's exactly, and that further proved that they were, for me, that they were trying to work the system, the Ospreys, and look, they were successful at it at the end because they got the results, but unfairly so, in my view, and if yes, results business and all of that, but deep down, when you haven't won properly, when you won
Mm.
and you know that, hey, yeah, no, I stole that one. It's not the same. It's not the
Yeah,
same.
I
And
disagree there. There's no moral victories. You lie, you
you
cheat, you
say,
steal. There's no moral victories.
Educador.
Yeah,
Educador.
but
Look,
my thing is, I just find the part I don't like about it is when you were dominant in the scrum time,
yeah,
you had
but
no
that's
problem. So
why,
so that's the thing. That's where I feel like, it's a coward's way out of
yeah,
when
it's,
it's like
it was nice
when
when
you
you were
dom
on top.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
it's almost
so
like it's almost like think about it this way, right? If, for example, in the same situation, and I know we're going on about this for a bit, but let's put it this way: it's now this Nation Cup, whatever thing that's happening in the test window, and then the Springboks known for their scrummaging. Maybe today is an off day. The referee he's seeing a completely different picture, and he's just penalizing us, and
yeah.
then we're seeing here that no man, hey, scrumming today is not working for us and we do that, what's going to happen? They will. Hey, my man, it will be a headline for the next month or even year that this is what the Springboks did,
Yeah,
So it's almost, yeah, the Northern Hemisphere is very interesting in how they look at things and how the laws apply, to them
yeah,
and how they apply to others. But yeah, there's no real equality in the world, if we are being honest. But it's just one of those things, man. That, yeah, yeah,
yeah. Let's talk moments in the game. John Smith, generational, terrible game for him. Uh, it seems like JB Peterson
unlucky.
has put Masuku out in the wilderness. He's opted for Hendricks over him. He's opted for John Smith over him. Um, just terrible. There was times where he went for the cross kick when the pass was on. There was a
Yeah,
time other things in the game that happened. Siaya makes a break. LaRue Milan butchers the try, and in the process, he gets injured. I
yeah,
think also him, like, he's been good at times, but maybe he's not quite at that standard where the Sharks, but he is moving on.
yeah.
Sean Smith again threw on the fullback, decides he's gonna grab
Ish.
it through, and you could just
But
play another phase or do something. Sean Smith
yeah,
again throws an intercept, and
yeah,
then
that one
Esther Hazen catches
also.
it. It gets contagious. Esther
It,
Hazen also throws an
it's also
intercept.
like, no, let's give away.
Sean
No,
Smith
for real.
loses it diving for the line in the
Ay,
scrum before the injury. And then Sean Smith also gives a terrible pass to Siaya, and then Siaya
yes,
drops it
drops it
where
cold.
it
Yeah,
was out wide. So I don't want to go without saying that Sean Smith, generationally terrible
yeah,
game
no,
with
that was a bad one.
and somehow he's just a character that, like, it goes unsaid. There's certain players where they catch a lot of heat. I'm bringing it up because I
Yeah,
don't know, like the
no, you must get heat, really. You must get heat. But at the same time, as much as you must get heat,
yeah,
looking at that, you also mentioned the Milan, and for me, it's also the thing of um there wasn't really a stability, and I couldn't help but when watching that game think selection a bit of a imbalance in the selection where they couldn't get the most
yeah,
out of their backs, But I think a part of that also plays into it is that it was a different 10 the last game. Milan wasn't
yeah,
playing, so those factors, but it's also inexcusable because come on, you're waiting for your chance, right? Take your chance, show
mm,
yourself that okay, you can be the general, you can steer the ship. I won't even go too much into Milan because I felt that he had a decent game, good carries, very strong even defensively, just a bit unlucky. And I think that's looking at even the Ospreys tries it was they benefited of the Sharks of the chaos. The
yeah,
first try of Ospreys, it was a nothing kick from them, and that little bit of chaos they benefited from it. And it is just
yeah,
giveaways from the Sharks, which is what is frustrating, but also expected from this team. In terms of where they are, where they're looking to go. So yeah, overall, it was a good endeavor from them because you can at least see that there's systems in place, there's things we know. Okay, the mold definitely works. We know they can
yeah,
compete at line-up time. We know that they've got exciting backs. It's now how do they put the recipe together? I think defensively as well, trying to get better. And there were times in this game where okay, defense was a little bit better, but
yeah.
yeah, there's they can only go up, because yeah,
Yeah, moving on. I think let's go Dragons Bulls. Really, as much as you spoke about the last game, this game there isn't really that much to say besides the fact
yeah,
that the Bulls, it was just Klopper that wasn't a balk in that pack,
yeah,
and that's what they leaned on heavily, and that's what got them the result. Even when you look at the back line, I think it was just like Foster and Devon Williams,
true.
that. Yeah, and like Creel that are not really, but I mean those guys are hovering around. I mean, like Foster, the time of the Lions probably
Yeah,
was, you know what I mean? So
Mm.
you've got a situation there where they leaned heavily on that pack, and for a scoreline that you see like that, you're gonna think like it was a great entertaining game or whatever, but it was just the Bulls basically wearing them down. I saw
Yeah,
even the moment of the match, like when you see on socials where they're posting like, "Oh, Bulls moment of the match," it's a scrum, and then they push
yeah.
over, and then Papier picks and
Picks and the
scores
scores there. Yeah,
you
the forwards
know.
went to work there.
Besides that, the only thing is that once Villy LaRue came on, that's when you started to see two backline tries, and he got them involved there. Steady performance. That's
Yeah,
what you want to see on tour. I'm not
yeah,
complaining about it. I'm not complaining. It's just that
yeah.
sometimes
Good start.
you weigh games. You weigh games.
Mm,
Good result, good performance, and then you look at as a consumer, someone watching the game,
mm,
not that entertaining. So
mm.
you weigh it like that, but obviously you want the
And
results.
even
So
the
I'm
Sharks
not.
game, there wasn't that entertainment value. It wasn't
Yeah,
really there
I
to
was
see.
glued because I had money, but I had Siaya to score, and I had,
Yo, yo, yo.
but alas, Bulls, great. I mean, good for them. The things to come out of this game. Moody is injured. Hopefully, it's not a long term injury. And then you've
Yeah,
got, I mean, for them also as well as Box, and then you got Van Staden, who played hooker for a large part of this game, more than just the 5 minutes here and there.
yeah.
And they had vessels there who could play hooker, but they've
Mhm.
chosen to now say Van Staden. So
With that game, with Van Staden being at hooker, I just want to say, if I'm the other hookers, I'll be very nervous because Gassi likes these kind of players, you know. So you
yeah,
must know one must die, you know, one must die, and there's going to be
yeah,
some so hearts, you know, because I definitely think Escom is his future is transition and how he's going to go into the twilight at hooker for the box. And he's going to do well because he's looking very settled, good throwing, accurate, and then he brings what he brings on the field as well.
yeah,
So yeah, yeah,
yeah.
it was good work for the pick.
Moving on, I think let's go Lions versus Warriors, and it's almost the same where it's like as much as there's not a lot to say because that game because it wasn't entertaining. This game there's not a lot to say because it was so entertaining and because everyone just did their job
Yeah,
so well that there's kind of like not much to critique. You've got Vandenberg coming back. You've got Nklaba Kanye coming back.
that
Nklaba
yes,
Kanye, they don't know if he's going to be available this week, but I'm pretty sure he will be. Tough 4 games left. 3 Irish opposition, one against the top of the log, but they were favorites and they were rolling and they continued to roll and a performance was had.
amen.
You're looking at Mahashi, a great game. Horn,
Mm,
Cronje, Van Veek, Intlabakanye,
yeah,
Fenter. You go
yeah,
down the list,
all
and it's
round.
just it's just great games from
Cornier,
all these guys. Yeah, Cronje is like I've always said. Cronje is one of those guys. If you just put him in a bog test, he'll. There's
he'll
those guys
do.
that like they're at that level, but like on their day, they just do everything. You
Mm,
know, Mahashe, he continues. For me, it's all around the carries, the momentum, freeing the hands in the tackle.
mm,
Um, I've been critical of Chris Smith because he doesn't have that flair or playmaking style. But if it's all coming from around you, and I think that's
you
what
don't
they've
need
done
that.
well, then you don't need
Yeah,
it at 10.
yeah.
Then
Then
you
you've
don't.
got all you need. You need just the guy that will just be steady, set things up,
Yes,
get this thing, just light the fire,
yeah,
and and marshal all of that. Don't try to do too much. And I think he's playing that role very nicely for the Lions. I mean, you guys are hot right now.
yeah,
You guys are hot right now. Yeah, and they're doing what they're supposed to do. You know what we said this a few weeks ago. Your home games, you have to win your home games. You can't compromise.
yeah,
And they thoroughly dispatched Glasgow, who also seemingly looked like they had a plan. They wanted to, so with the selection and with the bench that they had, I think they wanted to try and blitz the Lions at the end. You know,
Yeah.
But they didn't get the opportunity because the Lions they started fast and and at home at home, and when they in that kind of mood, Shem, you will catch 50 like they did, you know. And no, look, it was a good all round performance, good team performance as well from the
Yeah.
Lions. I think the only part will be, you know, just making sure to, you know, to arrest momentum of, you know, to being able to not allow teams to get in behind them, you know, because you saw with Glasgow, once they started putting those phases together with that
Mm.
tempo, you can see that, okay, yeah, this is a quality outfit, you know.
Yeah.
It's not their day today, you know. But good on the Lions, eh? Very good.
Yeah. I think a lot of these guys did. They up their box stocks, especially like Horn. That try that he scored, where I know it's
Mm.
bad when guys. He's even tackling the guy without the ball to try and say
Ah,
obstruction when there's no obstruction.
obstruction, yeah, no,
You're just
they're cooked.
trying everything. So yeah, hopefully Connacht, like we'll talk about now, had first first game on tour. They were rolling.
Yeah.
So second week they're gonna want to take it over down to Ellis Park. So hopefully, if the Lions get that win and they continue in their form, then it'll set
Mm-hmm.
them up great going
Mm-hmm.
abroad. And I think let's talk about that now. Stormers, an emotional week for Stormers.
Yeah,
Team
yeah.
manager passing on Chippy Solomon pre-match tributes. You've got Skara and Tubeni also. It's been highlighted as his last game, and he was
Mm.
starting. And it's that age-old thing of milestone games and games with sentiment. It tends not to go teams' ways. At first, it did look like it was going to Stormers' way. You've got Willems on the wing
Yeah, I thought
again.
so, eh?
You've got Willems on the wing again, where I think it needs to
That
come
needs to
to an
stop, eh?
end.
No,
Yeah,
that needs to stop.
it needs
It
to
needs to
stop.
stop. Yeah, right now, because it's one of the guys that you want. Like you said, you want him to have his hands on the ball. You know,
Yeah,
more often than not. You know, so that's not working.
yeah. Other things, I just feel like, especially like with Sasha and that, like guys are trying to throw the ball around a lot. Weather was like kind of okay. It was a bit wet,
Mm,
but they're trying to throw the ball around a lot when they could lean more on the maul. They didn't kick tactically enough. They didn't
mm,
build up enough of a lead where, but I also credit Connacht because they stood in the fight.
yeah,
Mfunu was great at scrum time, although the first one did go against him. And essentially, you've got a lead at around like 60 minutes where you should be seeing that off, and
yeah.
then they just implode. Angara, I've said it
No,
before.
no.
He's got that
You
cheeky
see,
scrum off thing, but he just doesn't have the play. Interception there, and then from there, like Stormers are trying to close out. They're trying to close out running the ball, and it just doesn't happen from there.
it just doesn't happen. Yeah, and you see, Angara is taking somebody's job there. You know,
Mm,
Imad Khan used to be playing there. I'm not a Stormers supporter, but I mean, you can see it's clear as day, you know, what they've got here. And the thing is, at some point, they have to make a decision. You're not going to always, not everybody's going to be happy. You know, you can't always give everybody minutes. You need to say, right, now we're going into the business end of the tournament, and these are the guys that we're picking. Pick your best team, let them play. Those other guys got to stay ready in the event that there's any injuries and whatnot, you know. But
yeah,
you can't be having Ongare playing ahead of Imad Khan, in my view, you know. But yeah, look, there's not much really else to say about the Stormers other than
yeah,
that. Look, emotional week. They had it. They had the opportunity to take it. They just went there mentally. They didn't have that thing. There wasn't that thing in that stadium, you know,
yeah.
where in the last 20 minutes, then they start and they come at you and they keep that pressure on. It just wasn't happening and they weren't converting. So yeah, tough one, but they have to bounce back and very fast because Glasgow will be waiting.
Yeah, and I think I even got it mixed around. I think it was the Van Heerden from the restart where they just score.
Yes, and
and
then
then he
yes,
messed up the restart first, and then it was
yeah,
Angara playing, trying to regain a lead on that. And my
yeah,
thing, like, you can't to play. They play on that line, and to play on that line, you have to get things like restarts right.
yeah,
But
yeah.
alas, any closing remarks from you, Chris?
Hey, look, this coming weekend, I think Bulls got it. They can do something. Connacht, they're going to be brought back down. Stormers challenging one day. Glasgow, the Sharks, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
From
I
my
still
side,
back the points.
yeah, I think Bulls. I think playing Scarlets, Bulls will get it done. I think
Yeah,
strong performance there. Stormers, I think they kind of have to get it right, especially after that they're going on tour and back
yeah,
to back losses at home. I don't think I don't think that's gonna happen.
mm-mm.
Toughest game of the weekend, I think, is Lions versus Connacht.
Yeah.
They and they were
No, I'm
they,
backing you.
they were getting under
No, I'm backing you.
Stormers' skin there.
I'm backing you.
It was a bit
No, I'm backing
contentious,
you.
even
No,
for an emotional game. They were really,
yeah.
them and the
Because even you
Ospreys
saw
this week.
Ronald was also like getting in there, like, and I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay. I was like, okay.
So I mean, we'll see. I think that will be because emotions are high. Guys, second week
Mm.
on tour, having braais, having drinks, they're gonna come to the game. So I think that would be the most tough. And the Sharks, the Sharks are just the Sharks. They
It's a
lost me mind.
lottery, man.
Yeah.
It's a lottery. Maybe you can make it back.
Yeah, no, thank
Bet's a bet.
you.
Bet's
I
a bet.
think that's it from us, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.